The club's strobe lights painted shadows across Naomi's face as she backed away, heart hammering. Marcus's hand shot out, fingers wrapping around her wrist like a vice. "You think you can just walk away from me?" Her eyes darted frantically across the crowded VIP section. That's when she saw him, a man who commanded space like gravity itself bent to his will. Dark eyes, sharp jawline, danger wrapped in an expensive suit. Without thinking, Naomi broke free and did the unthinkable. She sat directly on the stranger's lap. His body went rigid beneath her, muscles tensing like coiled steel. His companions fell silent, hands moving toward concealed weapons. She felt his breath against her ear, felt deadly calm in his voice. "This is either very brave or very stupid," he murmured in accented English, voice like silk over razor blades. "Which is it?" Marcus stalked toward them, rage twisting his features. The stranger's hand settled on Naomi's hip, present, solid, real. "Breathe," he commanded quietly, "and tell me very quickly. Should I have my men remove him, or do you want me to handle this personally?" Men? Who the hell had she just sat on? Naomi Washington had learned early that survival meant keeping your head down. At 26, she'd mastered invisibility, a skill that served her well in Los Angeles, where dreams died and rent crushed you. The Lotus Club wasn't her scene, but Kira had insisted, forcing her into a black dress that hugged curves Naomi usually hid beneath oversized sweaters. "You need this," Kira had said. 6 months of hiding is enough. Marcus doesn't own you anymore." Except Marcus hadn't gotten that memo. She'd spotted him immediately, stomach dropping. He was with his crew, the same guys who'd looked away when she showed up with bruises. She'd turned toward the VIP section where Kira had scored passes. That had been her first mistake. Now perched on a stranger's lap with Marcus approaching, Naomi realized she'd made a third mistake, potentially fatal. "Naomi!" Marcus's voice cut through music. "Get your ass over here. Now." The stranger's thumb moved in a small circle against her hip. "Calm down. I've got this. You're safe." "I think the lady is exactly where she wants to be," the stranger said, voice carrying despite not being raised. Ho Seung-jae had been having a tedious evening until a woman dropped onto his lap like a bomb with a lit fuse. She was beautiful, skin like warm mahogany, natural hair pulled into a sleek bun, emphasizing high cheekbones and full lips. But her eyes caught him, deep brown, filled with terror and defiance he recognized. The approaching man was exactly the type Seung-jae despised. Big, loud, making others feel small. "Do you know who I am?" Seung-jae asked conversationally. Marcus faltered. "Man, I don't care who you are. That's my girl." "I'm not your girl." Naomi found her voice, steel ringing through it. "I haven't been for 6 months. Leave. Me, alone." "Your girl appears to disagree," Seung-jae interrupted smoothly. "And since she's currently sitting on my lap, I'm inclined to take her side." He let his eyes go cold. "Walk away, while you still can." The threat hung like smoke. Seung-jae's men materialized from shadows. Daijung, Minsu, Hyunki, looking at Marcus like butchers look at meat. Marcus's bravado cracked. "This ain't over." "It is over." Seung-jae's voice could freeze fire. "If I see you approach her again, if I even hear you've been in the same zip code, I will take that as a personal insult. Do you understand what happens to people who insult me?" Marcus backed up, hands raised, before melting into the crowd. Naomi exhaled shakily. Reality crashed in. She was sitting on a stranger's lap, a stranger who'd threatened her ex with casual ease, surrounded by men who looked like they collected bodies. "Oh, God," she breathed. "I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking." She tried to stand, but his hand tightened fractionally, not painful, requesting, "Stay, at least until we're certain he's actually left." Naomi's legs stopped trying to support her. She was acutely aware of everywhere they touched, solid muscle beneath her, heat through her dress, his breath moving her hair. "I'm Naomi," she said finally, "and I think I might have just made the biggest mistake of my life." His lips curved. "Oh, Seung-jae, and that depends entirely on what you do next." The rational part of Naomi's brain screamed at her to run. Men with that kind of power were dangerous. But the rest of her, tired of being afraid, tired of being prey, was mesmerized. "You can let me go now," she said. "He's gone." "Your friend left 20 minutes ago," Seung-jae informed her. "The one in the red dress, very drunk, very friendly with the bartender." Her stomach sank. Of course Kira had left. She checked her phone. 1:47 a.m. She couldn't afford an Uber from here. "I'll have my driver take you home," he said, making it clear this wasn't a request. "I don't accept rides from strangers." "We're not strangers," Seung-jae countered, amusement flickering. You've been sitting on my lap for 15 minutes. I know you bite your lip when nervous, wear perfume that smells like vanilla, and you're left-handed. I'd say we're acquaintances. Despite everything, Naomi's lips twitched. That's not how that works. Isn't it? He shifted, making her aware of every contact point. You also know I dislike men who hurt women, that I have resources you need, and I'm offering help with no strings attached. He paused. Unless you'd prefer to walk home in those shoes? He'd noticed her shoes hurt. Why are you helping me? Are you a scam artist who throws herself at rich men? No, I'm a waitress who made a very impulsive decision. Then we have our answer. He finally released her hip. My driver is Daijung, 8 years with me, happily married with 2 children. He'll take you directly to whatever address you provide. His eyes locked with hers. Or you can walk home and hope your ex isn't waiting in the parking lot. The second option decided her. Thank you, Naomi said, standing on water legs. She immediately missed his warmth. Seung-jae stood, and she had to tilt her head back. He pulled out a plain black card with silver embossing and held it out, in case he doesn't take the hint. The card read simply, Oh Seung-jae, and a phone number. Nothing else. I won't need this, Naomi said, slipping it into her purse anyway. We'll see, Seung-jae replied, and something in his tone suggested he saw futures she couldn't imagine. Daejung drove with professional efficiency. Naomi leaned against the window, unsettled. She should feel relieved. Instead, she felt like she'd stepped onto a path she couldn't see. Her phone buzzed. Kira. OMG, where did you go? Naomi typed back, Got a ride. We'll talk tomorrow. What she didn't text. I just sat on a dangerous man's lap and he looked at me like I was precious instead of disposable, and I can't stop thinking about it. 3 days later, Naomi was covering lunch at Murphy's Diner when Marcus walked through the door. Her hands froze. Sugar exploded across the counter like snow. Marcus's smile was all teeth. Found you. Thought we should talk, baby. Rita, her 60-year-old manager, looked up. This man bothering you? He was just leaving, Naomi said steadily. That's not friendly, Nene, Marcus crooned, using the nickname she'd always hated. I came all this way. Rita reached for the phone. I'm calling the cops. For what? Having breakfast? Marcus spread his hands. Public place, I can eat wherever I want. He was right. Unless he made an actual threat, there was nothing anyone could do. Naomi's hand found the black card. She'd looked at it 50 times in 3 days, memorized the number. She pulled out her phone and typed, He found where I work. The response came in 30 seconds. Address? 10 minutes later, 3 black SUVs pulled up outside. Oh Seung-jae walked through the door like he owned the block. Dark jeans, black shirt with sleeves rolled to elbows, revealing defined forearms and the edge of a tattoo. His eyes swept the diner, catalogued Marcus, then found Naomi. There you are, he said, voice warm. I've been looking everywhere. Are you ready for lunch? Naomi stared. I'm working. Not anymore. He looked at Rita, conveying both respect and command. I need to borrow your waitress. I'll compensate you for her time. He placed $300 bills on the counter. Rita's eyes went wide. That covers her shift, yes? Her shift and the next 6, Rita breathed. Who the hell are you? Marcus demanded, standing. Seung-jae turned slowly. When he spoke, his voice was too quiet, the kind that preceded explosions. I'm the man who told you to stay away from her. Do you remember that conversation? 3 days ago. Dark club. Lots of witnesses. He stepped closer, and Marcus retreated. Did you think I wasn't serious? Did you think my warning had an expiration date? Man, I don't want trouble. Then why are you here? Seung-jae's voice could cut glass. Why are you in front of this woman after I explicitly told you to stay away? Naomi found her voice. Seung-jae, you don't have to... He held up one hand, not taking his eyes off Marcus. Yes, I do. Because men like this think warnings are suggestions. They think boundaries are negotiable. They need to learn that some lines, once crossed, have permanent consequences. Min-soo stepped forward, hand resting on something concealed beneath his jacket. You're going to leave now, Seung-jae continued conversationally. You're going to leave Los Angeles, actually. San Diego is nice. Fresno, perhaps. Anywhere that isn't here. He smiled without warmth. And if I hear you've contacted her, a phone call, a text, a goddamn carrier pigeon, I will consider that a declaration of war. Do we understand each other? Marcus's face paled. You can't just... I can, Seung-jae interrupted. I absolutely can. The question is whether you're smart enough to recognize that, or stupid enough to test me. Finally, Marcus broke, shoulders sagging. We're done here. Keep her. She ain't worth the trouble anyway. The words hurt, but Naomi found she didn't care. She was too busy watching Seung-jae. Watching him hold himself like violence was a language he spoke fluently. After Marcus fled, Seung-jae turned back, his demeanor shifting. The predator receded, replaced by something almost soft. "Are you all right?" "I don't know," Naomi answered honestly. "I think you just dramatically upended my life." "Good," Seung-jae said. "Your life needed upending." Standing there, surrounded by shocked patrons and spilled sugar, Naomi couldn't argue with that. Naomi should have gone home. Instead, she found herself in Seung-jae's SUV, watching Los Angeles blur past. "Where are we going?" "Lunch. You said you were working through your lunch break. That's unacceptable." "I work through lunch every day. That's how jobs work when you're not rich." "Then we need to expand your definition of acceptable." They ended up at a Korean restaurant, the kind without English signs, where ajumas shouted orders and the air smelled like grilled meat and kimchi. Seung-jae navigated it like coming home, exchanging greetings in rapid Korean. They were led to a private room, traditional low tables and cushioned mats. Naomi kicked off her work shoes and settled down, knees protesting. "I've never been here before," she admitted, looking at the all-Korean menu. "I live in Koreatown but usually just hit food trucks." "Then you've been missing out," he ordered without consulting the menu, a stream of Korean that sounded like music. "How many languages do you speak?" "Korean, English, Japanese, Mandarin, some Spanish. Enough Russian to conduct business." "Conduct business," Naomi repeated slowly. "What kind of business requires Russian?" His eyes met hers, dark and unreadable. "The kind we're not going to discuss over lunch." "But you're going to feed me anyway?" "You don't make me uncomfortable. You make me curious. There's a difference." Food arrived in waves. Banchan, grilled meat sizzling on tabletop grill, soup that smelled like comfort. Naomi's stomach growled audibly. "Eat," Seung-jae commanded gently. They ate in companionable silence, Seung-jae occasionally placing choice meat pieces on her plate with his chopsticks, a gesture that felt both intimate and casual. "Why are you helping me?" Naomi asked finally. "Please don't say it's because I sat on your lap." Seung-jae considered, taking a sip of tea. "When I was 12, my mother left my father. He was not a good man. Powerful, yes. Respected, absolutely, but not good." He stared into his teacup. She tried to hide. Moved to a different city, changed her name, got a job as a seamstress. She thought she was safe. Naomi's chest tightened. What happened? He found her, and he made sure she never tried to leave again. Not by hurting her. My father was too smart. He hurt the people she cared about, her sister, her friends, anyone who'd helped her. He destroyed their lives systematically until my mother came back, because that was the only way to make him stop. "That's horrible," Naomi breathed. "That's power," Seung-jae corrected, voice hard. "That's what happens when someone has resources and no conscience. My mother lived another 15 years in that house, smiling through every day. She died when I was 27. Heart attack, the doctor said. I think it was relief." Naomi reached across the table, her hand covering his. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," Seung-jae said, turning his hand to interlace their fingers. "Be grateful that when I see a man like Marcus, I have the power to do what no one could do for my mother. I can make him stop. You scared him. I terrified him. There's a difference. Fear fades. Terror lingers." They stayed like that, hands connected across the table. Naomi felt something shift inside her, some carefully constructed wall beginning to crack. "I was with Marcus for 2 years," she found herself saying. "It started small, checking my phone, asking where I'd been. I thought it was jealousy. I thought it meant he cared." She laughed bitterly. "Isn't that stupid?" "It's not stupid," Seung-jae said firmly. "It's human. Leaving him was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not because I still loved him, that died long before, but because I was scared he was right, that I was nothing without him, that I couldn't survive alone. And yet, here you are, surviving. Barely. I work 60 hours a week across 2 jobs. I live in an apartment where I can't afford to turn the heat above 65. I eat ramen 4 nights a week. This meal probably costs more than my weekly grocery budget." "You're alive," Seung-jae countered. "You're free. You made a choice most people lack courage to make. That's not barely surviving, that's winning." Tears pricked Naomi's eyes. "Why do you see me that way? Everyone else sees a struggling waitress who made bad choices. You see someone worth protecting." Seung-jae's thumb traced circles on her hand, both soothing and electric. "I see someone who threw herself into a stranger's lap because she refused to be a victim. I see someone who works 2 jobs rather than give up. I see strength disguised as desperation." He paused. "And I see someone who eats kimchi like she was born to it, which suggests excellent taste." Despite herself, Naomi laughed. "Is that your metric?" "It's a start," he replied, lips curving into what might have been a genuine smile. The moment broke when Sung-jae's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expression cooling like water turning to ice. "I need to take this." He stepped out, and through thin walls Naomi heard rapid-fire Korean, tone clipped and commanding. When he returned, his expression was troubled. "I have a situation I need to handle. Business. It can't wait." "Of course," Naomi said, trying not to feel disappointed. "I'll have Dae-jung take you home." He paused. "Unless you come with me." Naomi should have said no. Instead, "Where are we going?" Seung-jae's smile was sharp and dangerous. "To remind someone why they shouldn't break promises to me." They drove to a warehouse in an industrial part of Los Angeles that Google Maps probably labeled, "Here be dragons." Seung-jae's men were already there, standing in a loose circle around a man tied to a chair, blood trickling from his nose. Naomi's stomach clenched. "Seung-jae, stay in the car," he said, voice brooking no argument. "Dae-jung will stay with you. You'll be safe." "That's not what I'm worried about," Naomi replied, but he was already out, striding toward his men with practiced confidence. Through tinted windows, Naomi watched Seung-jae speak to the bound man. She couldn't hear words, but she could see the man's face go white, see him shaking his head frantically. Seung-jae said something else, calm and measured, then turned to Min-soo. Min-soo pulled out a gun. Naomi's breath caught. She'd known Seung-jae was dangerous, but seeing it, witnessing the casual way he wielded violence, was different from knowing abstractly. Seung-jae made a small gesture. Min-soo fired twice, sound muffled but audible. The man screamed. The bullets had hit concrete on either side of his feet. Seung-jae said something else too quiet to hear. The man nodded frantically, tears streaming. Seung-jae gestured, and his men untied the guy who collapsed, crawling toward the door. Then Seung-jae returned to the SUV, sliding in like nothing had happened. "Let's go." They drove in silence for 3 blocks before Naomi found her voice. "You shot at him." "No," Seung-jae corrected calmly. "Min-soo shot near him. There's a difference." "That's semantics." "That's mercy," Seung-jae countered. "That man stole from me, from my organization. The penalty for that is death. I gave him a warning instead, a chance to make it right." He looked at her directly. "Would you have preferred I kill him?" "No, but I also I can't." She pressed her hands to her face. "What am I doing here?" "This is my life," Seung-jae said simply. "I won't lie to you about what I am. I run an organization that operates in shadows. I make decisions that cost lives sometimes. I'm not a good man by most definitions." He pulled her hands from her face. "But I meant what I said at the restaurant. When I see someone being hurt by someone who thinks they have the right, I stop it, however I need to, even if stopping it means becoming the thing that hurts them. Especially then, because at least when I hurt someone, they deserved it." Naomi should have asked to be taken home. Instead, did he deserve it? That man? He stole money that was supposed to pay for someone's medical treatment, a child's medical treatment. Because of his greed, that child didn't get the surgery she needed. She's blind now, permanently. His jaw tightened. So yes, he deserved it. He deserved worse. Naomi's worldview was tilting, her ideas about right and wrong blurring into grey. "I don't know what to do with this information." "You don't have to do anything with it," Seung-jae said gently. "I'm not asking you to approve, I'm just refusing to lie about it." The SUV pulled up to Naomi's apartment building, a squat, stained structure with bars on windows and graffiti on walls. Seung-jae looked at it with thinly veiled distaste. "This is where you live?" "This is what I can afford," Naomi corrected sharply, defensive. "I'm not judging you. I'm judging the universe that thinks this is acceptable housing for anyone." He paused. "Stay with me tonight." Naomi's heart stuttered. "What?" "Not like that," he clarified quickly, something almost like embarrassment crossing his features. "I have guest rooms, multiple guest rooms. You'll be safer at my place than here, especially if Marcus decides to try again. Marcus is probably halfway to San Diego by now." "Probably," Seung-jae agreed, "but I didn't build my life on probably." His eyes locked with hers. "Stay, please." It was the please that decided her. "Okay, but I'm taking the furthest guest room from your bedroom." Seung-jae's smile was slow and devastating. "Whatever makes you comfortable." Seung-jae's house wasn't the ostentatious mansion Naomi had imagined. Instead, it was a mid-century modern masterpiece in the Hollywood Hills. Clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive minimalism that whispered wealth. The view over Los Angeles was staggering. "The guest room is upstairs," Seung-jae said, leading her through a living room of greys and blacks and cream. "Third door on the left." The guest room was bigger than Naomi's entire apartment, with a cloud bed and windows framing the glittering city. She found a t-shirt in the drawers, men's, massive, probably Sung Jai's. It smelled like his cedar cologne, and something intrinsically him. She should sleep, but her mind was racing. Unable to settle, Naomi padded downstairs barefoot. Light came from a home office. Through the partially open door she could see Sung Jai at a desk, reading his laptop with focused intensity. She knocked softly. Sung Jai looked up, and something shifted when he saw her in his t-shirt, her natural hair loose. Can't sleep? Too much adrenaline. Also, your guest bed is so comfortable it's suspicious. Probably the tears of my enemies, Sung Jai replied, deadpan, and Naomi found herself laughing. Can I come in? It's paperwork. Boring, necessary paperwork. The unglamorous side of organized crime. Naomi settled into the chair across from his desk, tucking her legs beneath her. Does it bother you? That I know what you do? Does it bother you? That you know. I don't know yet. Ask me again in a few days after I've processed witnessing a man get shot at. Fair enough? Sung Jai closed his laptop, giving her full attention. What would you like to know? Everything. Or maybe just the highlights. Sung Jai leaned back. My father ran a small operation in Koreatown. Protection, gambling, some loan sharking. Traditional Jopok business. He was good at it, but he lacked vision. But you did, Naomi guessed. I saw that Los Angeles was a tapestry. Korean neighborhoods, Latino neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, white neighborhoods, all operating in parallel. I saw opportunity in the spaces between. He met her eyes. I built bridges, alliances. I learned Spanish, learned street slang, learned how to negotiate with people my father would have dismissed. By the time I was 30, I'd tripled our revenue and expanded our territory without firing a single shot. Impressive and terrifying. Business, I treat my organization like a corporation. Supply chains, personnel management, strategic planning. The only difference is my board meetings occasionally involve weapons. Occasionally, Naomi repeated dryly. I prefer negotiation. Violence is expensive and messy and attracts attention. But sometimes people need to be reminded there are consequences. That deals, once made, must be kept. Like the man in the warehouse, who will now spend years working off his debt, and who will tell everyone what happens when you steal from Oh Seung-jae. Sometimes one act of violence prevents 100 more. That's utilitarian philosophy. Greatest good for greatest number. Seung-jae looked surprised. You studied philosophy? Community college. I'm working on my associate degree in business management. Slowly, very slowly, since I can only afford one class per semester. Why business management? Because I'm tired of being broke, Naomi said bluntly. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck doing mental math at the grocery store. I want... She paused, trying to articulate dreams that felt simultaneously too big and too small. I want to not be afraid all the time. Not just of Marcus, but of unexpected expenses. Of getting sick. Of my car breaking down. I want stability. That's not asking for much. That's asking for the bare minimum every person deserves. And yet, here I am. 26, living in an apartment with bars on windows, wearing a stranger's t-shirt because I didn't bring a change of clothes. You're not wearing a stranger's t-shirt, Seung-jae corrected softly. You're wearing mine. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Naomi felt heat crawl up her neck, felt acutely aware of every inch of skin covered by his shirt. I should probably give it back. Keep it, Seung-jae replied, dark eyes never leaving hers. It looks better on you anyway. The tension shifted, became electric and dangerous. Naomi should stand up, should go back to the guest room, should put distance between herself and this man who looked at her like she was rare and precious. Instead, she asked, Why do you look at me like that? Like what? Like I matter. Seung-jae stood, circling the desk, to lean against it directly in front of her. Because you do matter. You matter to me. You barely know me, Naomi protested weakly. I know you chose poverty over abuse. I know you work yourself to exhaustion rather than ask for help. I know you sat on a stranger's lap because you refuse to be trapped again. I know you eat kimchi enthusiastically, and you bite your lip when you're nervous, and you're doing it right now. Naomi's teeth released her lower lip. That's not knowing someone. That's observation. Then let me know you, Seung-jae said, and there was something raw in his voice. Let me learn all the things observation can't teach me. Your favorite color, what you dream about. What makes you laugh when you're alone? What you want from life beyond basic survival? Why? Naomi breathed. Because I can't stop thinking about you, Seung-jae admitted. Because from the moment you landed in my lap, you've been a disruption I didn't know I needed. Because when I look at you, I see someone who deserves every good thing the world has to offer, and I want to be the person who gives it to you." Naomi stood, and suddenly they were inches apart, close enough to see the faint scar on his jawline, close enough to feel heat radiating from his body. "I'm not a charity case," she said, needing him to understand. "I'm not some damsel for you to rescue." "I know," Xiongji replied. "You're a warrior who's been fighting alone too long. I'm not trying to rescue you. I'm trying to fight beside you." His hand came up, cupping her face with heartbreaking gentleness. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me you don't feel this thing between us, and I'll back away. I'll have Daijung take you home tomorrow, and I'll never bother you again. And if I don't tell you to stop, then I'm going to kiss you," Xiongji said simply. "And then I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never have to be afraid again." Naomi didn't tell him to stop. His lips met hers with controlled intensity that made her knees weak, made every nerve ending light up like fireworks. He kissed her like she was precious, like she was his, like this was both beginning and promise. His other hand found her waist, pulling her closer until they were pressed together, until Naomi could feel the controlled power in his body. She made a sound, half gasp, half moan, and his grip tightened fractionally, possessive without being controlling. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Xiongji rested his forehead against hers. "You need to go back to your room," he said, voice rough. "Now, before I forget, I'm trying to be a gentleman." "What if I don't want you to be a gentleman?" Naomi challenged, feeling brave and reckless and alive. Xiongji groaned. "You're killing me." "Good. Consider it payback for turning my life upside down." "Naomi." Her name was a warning and a plea. "I need you to trust me when I say that if you stay in this room, I won't be able to stop at kissing." "Then I'll go," Naomi said, pulling back with enormous effort. "But for the record, I don't want you to stop." She left him there, looking wrecked and wanting, and climbed the stairs on legs that felt like they'd forgotten how to work. Her lips still tingled from his kiss. Her body still hummed with unfulfilled desire. Naomi fell into the cloud bed, buried her face in the pillow, and tried to process the fact that she was falling for a man who shot at people for a living. And the truly terrifying part? She didn't want to stop falling. The next morning, Naomi woke to sunlight and coffee smell. She followed the scent downstairs to find Xiongji in the kitchen, looking unfairly attractive in a simple white t-shirt and jeans. "Coffee," he offered. "You're a mind reader," Naomi said gratefully. They ate breakfast in comfortable silence, eggs and toast and fruit that Xiongji prepared with focused competence. Naomi tried not to think about how domestic this felt, how right. "I need to go to work," she said finally. "Call in sick," Xiongji suggested. "I can't afford to call in sick. Some of us have rent to pay." "About that." Xiongji set down his coffee. "How would you feel about working for me?" Naomi nearly choked. "Excuse me? I run legitimate businesses as well. I have restaurants, real estate holdings, a security consulting firm. All need competent managers, people I can trust." He met her eyes. "I need someone with your work ethic, your intelligence, and it would pay significantly more than Murphy's Diner. You're offering me a job after one day of knowing me. I'm offering you an opportunity. What you make of it is up to you." Naomi wanted to say yes so badly it physically hurt, but something held her back. "Let me think about it," she said finally. Xiongji nodded, not pressing. "Fair enough." Daejung drove her to Murphy's, where Rita raised her eyebrows but didn't comment on Naomi's rumpled appearance. Naomi threw herself into work, letting familiar rhythm ground her. She was refilling the coffee station when her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Thought you could hide behind your Korean boyfriend? Think again, bitch." Marcus. Despite everything, he was still trying to reach her. Naomi's hands shook as she forwarded the message to Xiongji. His response came immediately. "I'll handle it." The call came at 2 a.m. Naomi was alone in her apartment. She'd insisted on going home despite Xiongji's protests, needed space to think and breathe. She'd been drifting between sleeping and waking when her phone lit up the darkness. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe to accept. "Naomi Washington." The voice was female, crisp, professional. "Yes? This is Detective Sarah Chen with the LAPD. I need you to come down to the station. There's been an incident involving Marcus Davis." Naomi's blood went cold. "What kind of incident?" "I'd rather discuss this in person." The police station at 2 a.m. was a fluorescent-lit nightmare of tired cops and crying suspects and burnt coffee smell. Detective Chen was a compact Asian woman with sharp eyes and sharper questions. "When was the last time you saw Marcus Davis?" she asked, leading Naomi to an interrogation room. 4 days ago, he showed up at my work. My friend had to have him escorted out. Your friend, Detective Chen repeated, consulting notes. That would be Oh Seung-jae? Naomi's stomach dropped. How do you... We have security footage from the diner. Multiple witnesses reported seeing Mr. O's rather dramatic intervention. She leaned forward. Here's the thing, Ms. Washington. Marcus Davis was found 3 hours ago in an alley in Koreatown. He'd been beaten severely. His right hand was broken in 7 places. Kay's currently in ICU, and the doctors aren't sure if he'll regain full function of that hand. Naomi felt like she might vomit. I'm not suggesting you did anything, Detective Chen said, tone gentling. But I need you to understand something. Oh Seung-jae is under investigation, has been for 3 years. We know what he is, what he does, and we've been building a case, piece by piece, witness by witness. She pulled out a photo of Seung-jae looking dangerous and beautiful. He's dangerous, Ms. Washington, and if you're involved with him, you're in danger too. Not from him, maybe, but from the life he leads, from the enemies he's made, from the choices he forces people to make. He didn't force me to do anything, Naomi said, finding her voice. Didn't he? Detective Chen challenged. Think about it. 4 days ago, you were a waitress with an ex-boyfriend problem. Now you're here in a police station at 2 a.m., being questioned about a brutal assault that you know was connected to Oh Seung-jae. She slid her business card across the table. When you're ready to talk, really talk, call me. Because right now, you still have a choice. But the longer you stay involved with him, the fewer choices you'll have. Naomi left the station in a daze. The sun was starting to rise, painting Los Angeles in shades that felt obscene. She called an Uber, gave her address, then changed it at the last minute to Seung-jae's house. He answered the door immediately, like he'd been waiting. He was dressed for the day already, perfectly put together, except for tension in his shoulders, tightness around his eyes. You know, Naomi said without preamble, you know what happened to Marcus? I know, Seung-jae confirmed, stepping aside. Did you do it? The question hung like smoke. No, Seung-jae said, and something in his voice made her believe him. But I ordered it done. Naomi's legs gave out. She sat heavily on his couch, hands shaking. The detective said his hand. She said they broke his hand in 7 places. 8, Seung-jae corrected quietly. 8 places. I was very specific about that number. Why? Naomi whispered. Why 8? Because he texted you 8 times after I told him to stay away, Seung-jae explained, voice devoid of emotion. 1 break for each message. I wanted him to understand that every action has consequences, that every boundary he crossed had a price. Naomi looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who'd kissed her so tenderly, who'd made her breakfast, who'd offered her a job, and saw maybe for the first time the truth of what he was. The detective said you're under investigation, that they've been building a case for 3 years. I'm aware. Detective Chen is tenacious. I respect that, even if it makes my life more complicated. How can you be so calm? Naomi demanded. You just admitted to ordering an assault. You could go to prison. I could be charged as an accessory. They could say I was involved, that I knew what was going to happen. You didn't know, Seung-jae said firmly, and I'll make sure they know that. You're not going to prison, Naomi. I won't allow it. You won't allow it? Naomi's voice rose. You don't get to control this. You don't get to make decisions that affect my life without asking me. You're right, Seung-jae said, and the admission seemed to cost him. You're absolutely right. I should have consulted you before taking action against Marcus. I should have given you a choice. He moved to sit beside her, careful not to touch. But here's the truth I need you to understand. I am not a good man. I am not the hero of this story. I'm the villain who fell in love with the heroine, and now I'm trying to rewrite the rules so we both get a happy ending. Love, Naomi repeated, the word tasting foreign. You said love. I did, Seung-jae confirmed, meeting her eyes. I love you, Naomi Washington. I've known it since you sat on my lap and chose courage over safety. I've known it every moment since, and it terrifies me because I don't do love. Love is weakness. Love is vulnerability. Love is everything my father taught me to avoid. He reached for her hand, stopped himself. But I look at you and I want to be weak. I want to be vulnerable. I want to give you every piece of myself I've spent my life protecting. Tears tracked down Naomi's face. You had a man beaten unconscious. I did. Seung-jae didn't deny it. Because he threatened you. Because he made you afraid. Because in my world, in the only language men like Marcus understand, violence is the only message that sticks. He finally did touch her, hand cupping her face with heartbreaking gentleness. "I won't apologize for protecting you. I can't. It's not in my nature to let threats against you go unanswered." "But what about next time?" Naomi challenged through tears. "What about every ex-boyfriend, every rude customer, every person who looks at me wrong? Are you going to have them all beaten, killed?" "No," Seung-jae said firmly. "Marcus was special. Marcus was someone who'd already hurt you, who'd already demonstrated he wouldn't respect boundaries. This wasn't about jealousy or possession. This was about eliminating a genuine threat." He wiped her tears with his thumb. "I'm not going to hurt everyone who annoys you. I'm going to hurt people who genuinely endanger you. There's a difference." "That's still not normal," Naomi said, but her voice had lost its edge. "I know. Nothing about my life is normal. Nothing about what I'm offering you is normal. But it's real. It's honest. And it's yours if you want it." Naomi sat there, suspended between two lives. The safe life, where she went back to her apartment and minimum wage jobs and slow progress toward a degree, and the dangerous life, where she stayed with a man who loved her enough to break people's hands, who could give her everything she needed but at a cost she couldn't calculate. "The detective gave me her card," Naomi said slowly. "Told me to call when I was ready to talk. To testify, I think." Seung-jae went very still. "Will you?" "I don't know. Part of me thinks I should. That the right thing, the moral thing, is to help put you away, to stop you from hurting other people." "And the other part?" "The other part knows the world isn't that simple," Naomi said. "The other part knows that sometimes the villain is the only one who'll protect you, that sometimes the law can't help, won't help, doesn't help fast enough." She looked at him, really looked. "My grandmother used to say that God puts people in your life for a reason, not always good people. Sometimes the people we need most are the ones who scare us, who challenge us, who make us question everything we thought we knew." "Am I scaring you?" "Terrifying me," Naomi confirmed, "but not in the way Marcus did. You scare me because I want this. I want you. I want a life where I don't worry about rent, where I don't eat ramen 4 nights a week, where someone looks at me like I'm precious instead of disposable." She took a shaky breath. "And that scares me because wanting things, needing things, opens you up to losing them." "I'm not going anywhere," Seung-jae promised. "You can't promise that," Naomi countered. "Detective Chen is building a case. Eventually, she'll have enough. Eventually, you'll—" She couldn't finish. "Eventually I'll go to prison," Seung-jae finished for her. "Yes, probably. The law has a long memory, and Chen is patient." He turned her face to his. "But I can promise you this. Whatever time we have, however long it is, I will spend every moment making sure you're safe, protected, cared for, loved." His voice dropped. "I will give you everything I have, everything I am, for as long as I can. And when they eventually take me away, you'll be set up, financially secure, educated, free to choose whatever life you want." "That's not—" "Let me finish," Seung-jae interrupted gently. "I have lawyers, good ones. They're preparing trusts, accounts, properties, all in your name. Clean money, legitimate money, nothing that can be traced back to my illegal operations. If I go down, you don't go down with me. You walk away with the resources to build whatever life you want." "You've already done this?" Naomi asked, shocked. "The paperwork was finalized this morning, before you even got here. Because regardless of what you decide right now, regardless of whether you stay or go, I needed to know you'd be okay." Naomi kissed him. It wasn't planned. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, trying to convey everything she couldn't articulate. Gratitude and fear and love and terror all mixed together in a kiss that tasted like salt and promise. When they broke apart, Seung-jae rested his forehead against hers. "Is that a yes?" "That's an I don't know," Naomi admitted. "But it's not a no, it's a maybe I'm crazy, and maybe this is the worst decision I'll ever make. But maybe, just maybe, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be." "I'll take maybe," Seung-jae said, smiling against her mouth. "I'll take maybe, and I'll spend every day turning it into yes." They stayed like that, wrapped around each other on his expensive couch as Los Angeles woke up outside, as somewhere Marcus lay in a hospital bed, as Detective Chen added notes to her case file, as the world kept spinning around them. 3 months later, Naomi stood in front of a mirror in a boutique that cost more per dress than her old monthly rent. She was wearing a black cocktail dress that hugged her curves, natural hair styled in an elegant updo, diamond earrings catching light. "You look beautiful," Kira breathed from behind her. Her best friend had been skeptical at first, had given Naomi the 3rd degree about Seung-jae, the danger, the risk, but she'd also seen how Naomi smiled now, how she'd left Murphy's Diner to manage one of Seung-jae's legitimate restaurants, how she was taking 3 classes a semester instead of 1. I look expensive, Naomi corrected, smoothing her hands over silk. There's a difference. You look happy. That's what matters. Tonight was a fundraiser for a children's hospital. One of those society events where Los Angeles' elite gathered to feel good about themselves while writing tax-deductible checks. Seung-jae had insisted Naomi accompany him, had called it making it official. Are you scared? Kira asked quietly. Constantly, Naomi admitted, but not of him. Never of him. She thought about the past 3 months, waking up in Seung-jae's bed, learning Korean phrases that made him smile, understanding the delicate balance of his world. She thought about the moment she'd told him she loved him too, the way his control had shattered, the way he'd kissed her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. She thought about Detective Chen, who'd called twice more, each time with more urgency. She thought about the manila envelope of evidence that lived in her desk drawer at the restaurant. Insurance, Seung-jae had called it. She thought about the choice she made every morning when she woke up beside a man who could order someone's death before breakfast and then cook her pancakes after. I should go, Naomi said finally. He's picking me up in 20 minutes. Seung-jae arrived in a town car, looking devastating in a tailored tuxedo. When he saw her, something hot and possessive flared in his eyes. You're stunning, he said, helping her into the car. You're biased, Naomi replied, but she smiled. The fundraiser was everything Naomi had imagined and nothing she'd expected. Rich people in expensive clothes, champagne flutes, a string quartet. But Seung-jae kept his hand on the small of her back the entire night, introduced her to everyone as Naomi, my girlfriend, with pride that made her chest ache. They were talking to a city councilman when Naomi saw her, Detective Chen, dressed in an ill-fitting blazer, watching from the bar. Excuse me, Naomi murmured to Seung-jae. I need to powder my nose. She found Chen in the ladies' room, touching up lipstick with the air of someone doing surveillance. Detective, Naomi greeted coolly. Ms. Washington, fancy meeting you here. This is harassment. This is a public event. I'm allowed to attend. Though I'll admit, watching Seung-jae schmooze with city officials is fascinating. Naomi checked her makeup in the mirror. Why are you really here? To give you one more chance, Chen said bluntly, to tell you that it's not too late. We have Marcus's testimony now. He's willing to talk in exchange for protection. We have financial records, surveillance footage, 3 witnesses willing to testify. We're close, Ms. Washington. So close. All we need is someone on the inside. Someone who can confirm what we suspect. You want me to wear a wire? Naomi said flatly. I want you to save yourself, Chen corrected. Because when this comes down, and it will come down, everyone close to O is going down with him, including you, if you're not careful. He's already protected me, legally, financially, I'm insulated. You think that matters? Chen laughed bitterly. You think the feds care about legal separation when they're taking down a crime boss? They'll freeze everything connected to him. Your accounts, your apartment, your job. They'll drag you through the mud just on principle. She stepped closer. I like you, Ms. Washington. You seem like a good person in a bad situation. Don't let him pull you under. Naomi looked at Chen, really looked at her, saw a woman who dedicated her life to justice, who genuinely believed she was one of the good guys. And maybe she was. But Naomi had learned that the world wasn't divided into heroes and villains. It was divided into people who helped you and people who hurt you. And Seung-jae, for all his crimes, had never been anything but honest with her. Thank you for your concern, Detective, Naomi said carefully, but I'm exactly where I choose to be. Then you're a fool, Chen said, not unkindly, but I hope you're a lucky fool. Naomi returned to the fundraiser, to Seung-jae's side. He looked at her questioningly, and she shook her head minutely. Not now. Later. In the car on the way home, Seung-jae finally asked, What did Chen want? To save me, Naomi said simply. From you. And what did you tell her? That I didn't need saving. Naomi took his hand, interlaced their fingers. That I'm making my own choices, even if those choices lead you somewhere dark. Especially then, Naomi replied, because I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. Not when I'm with you. Seung-jae pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. I love you, he murmured. God help me, I love you more than I've ever loved anything. I love you too, Naomi whispered back. And whatever happens, whatever Chen does, whatever case she builds, we'll face it together. Together, Seung-jae agreed, and sealed the promise with a kiss. That night, in his bed, with city lights spread out below them like fallen stars, Naomi made her choice. She deleted Detective Chen's number from her phone. She burned the business card. She chose the man who'd broken someone's hand to protect her over the detective who promised her safety. Maybe it was the wrong choice. Maybe future Naomi would regret it. But present Naomi, wrapped in Seung-jae's arms, feeling safer than she'd ever felt with a man who should terrify her, present Naomi knew she'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. Play along, he'd whispered that first night. I'll protect you. And he had. In the most brutal, beautiful, complicated way possible. He'd protected her, claimed her, loved her. And now she was his, completely and irrevocably his. Not because she had to be, but because she chose to be. And that, Naomi thought as she drifted towards sleep, made all the difference. The next morning, Naomi woke to find Seung-jae already awake, watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. What? She asked, smiling. I'm memorizing this moment, he said simply. You, here in my bed, in my life, mine. Possessive much? Naomi teased. Unrepentantly, Seung-jae replied, pulling her closer. You're mine, Naomi Washington, and I'm yours. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Whatever comes next, Naomi agreed. What came next was Detective Chen's case hitting a wall. What came next was Marcus suddenly recanting his testimony and moving to Florida. What came next was witnesses developing amnesia and evidence mysteriously disappearing. What came next was Seung-jae gradually stepping back from his illegal operations, letting trusted lieutenants take over while he focused on his legitimate businesses. What came next was Naomi getting her business degree and becoming the most successful restaurant manager in Los Angeles. What came next was a life built on shaky foundations that somehow managed to stand strong. But in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms as Los Angeles woke up outside, none of that mattered. What mattered was the choice they'd made, the risk they'd taken, the love they'd found in the most unexpected place. I have a meeting this morning, Seung-jae said reluctantly, but tonight I'm taking you somewhere special. Where? Surprise, he said, kissing her forehead. Trust me. And Naomi realized she did. Completely. Irrevocably. She trusted this dangerous man with her heart, her life, her future. Okay, she said simply. I trust you. That night, Seung-jae took her to a rooftop overlooking the city. He'd had it set up with candles and roses and all the romantic gestures she'd only seen in movies. What's all this? Naomi asked, breathless. This, Seung-jae said, pulling out a small velvet box, is me asking you to make it permanent, to choose me every day for the rest of your life. He opened the box, revealing a diamond that caught the city lights like captured stars. Marry me, Naomi. Be mine forever. Let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, loving you, giving you everything you deserve. Naomi's hands flew to her mouth. Seung-jae, I know I'm not a good man, he continued, his voice rough with emotion. I know I come with danger and complications and a past that won't stay buried. But I also know that from the moment you sat on my lap, you changed everything. You made me want to be better. You made me believe in something beyond power and control. You made me believe in love. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. Yes, she breathed. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Seung-jae slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that was promise and possession and love, all wrapped into one perfect moment. You're mine, he whispered against her lips. I'm yours, Naomi confirmed, and you're mine. No takebacks. No takebacks, Seung-jae agreed, smiling that rare, genuine smile that he only ever gave her. And standing there on a rooftop above Los Angeles, with a dangerous man's ring on her finger and his heart in her hands, Naomi knew she'd made the right choice. She'd chosen love over safety, danger over comfort, a complicated future over an easy present, and she'd never been happier. Years had transformed Los Angeles, but some things remained constant. Naomi stood on the balcony of their home, watching the city wake up, coffee warming her hands. Their home. Even after all this time, the phrase made her smile. Behind her, through the open door, she could hear Seung-jae moving around the kitchen, familiar sounds of breakfast being prepared. His restaurants had expanded, 5 now, all legitimate, all successful. The other side of his business had quietly dissolved. Seung-jae had stepped away, passed control to trusted lieutenants and walked away clean, almost clean. There were still investigations, still questions, but the statute of limitations on some charges had expired, and others lacked sufficient evidence. Chen had retired last year, frustrated but accepting. She'd sent Naomi a card that read simply, "You were luckier than you deserved to be." Maybe she was right. Naomi had her business degree now, framed on the wall of the restaurant she managed. She'd been featured in a magazine last month, rising stars in Los Angeles hospitality, confident and successful, and exactly where she'd always dreamed of being. "You're thinking too loud," Xiongjae said, appearing beside her with his own coffee. He'd aged well, silver threading through his black hair at the temples, lines around his eyes that suggested years of laughter. "What's going on in that beautiful head?" "Just remembering," Naomi said, leaning into his warmth. "Remembering a scared woman who threw herself at a stranger's lap." "Best decision you ever made," Xiongjae said smugly. "Second best," Naomi corrected. The best decision was staying. They stood together, watching Los Angeles sprawl beneath them. Somewhere out there was Murphy's Diner, where Naomi had poured coffee for tips. Somewhere was the Lotus Club, where everything had started. Somewhere was the woman Naomi had been, scared and struggling and surviving. She was glad that woman had been brave, even when she was terrified. Glad she'd made the leap, taken the risk, chosen the dangerous man over the safe option. "Thank you," Naomi said suddenly. "For what?" "For protecting me. That first night, when I sat on your lap and begged you to play along. You could have turned me away. Should have, probably. But you didn't." "I couldn't," Xiongjae said simply. "From the moment you touched me, you were mine. I just needed to convince you of that fact." "Took you long enough?" Naomi teased. "Took exactly as long as it needed to," Xiongjae corrected, pulling her close. "But we got there, and now we have forever. Forever." The word hung between them, bright and promising. Not perfect. They still fought, still struggled with ghosts of Xiongjae's past, still navigated the complicated reality of building a legitimate life from illegitimate foundations. But they were together, and that made everything possible. "I love you," Naomi said, the words still as powerful as the first time. "I love you too," Xiongjae replied. And somewhere in the distance, Los Angeles kept spinning, kept dreaming, kept offering up new stories to people brave enough to take them. Theirs was already written, and it was perfect.